Alright guys, it's Cutlass, and we finally got the car out to the track yesterday. It was Saturday, there was overcast, there was humidity, even though it was a cooler day, it still wasn't ideal. Earlier in the day, the weather would have been better, but it took the track a while because their tractor broke down when they were dragging the track, and we actually didn't get on track until about maybe 1 o'clock. But it was a perfect day because we were able to make a ton of changes. Now, before I get too far into this video, full disclaimer, you're gonna have to follow along on this one. It might be a little bit long, but at the end of the video, there's gonna be all the goodies there. Car going down the track, pictures, you name it. So just bear with me. So as you guys know, the engine that's in the car now is my old 350 that has gone it went 1149 at 113.68 miles per hour with a 154/60 foot. That was with my old 750. That was before we got the heads ported and the big valves. And again, just take that into consideration. Nothing else changed on the car. And our best pass was made on a radial. The car has always run its fastest on a drag radial. The bias ply is always slower. So we get out to the track, we make the pass with the 850 annular booster carb that I have. And it ran a 12.0. I ran like a couple of 12.0 passes. Car was very consistent. I was consistent with driving. After a little bit of seat time, getting back in the car, I was starting to catch good lights. But my good buddy Dave at Freak Cylinder Head Porting Services, he had a 850 HP XP Series Holly with downward boosters, so slightly different. The jetting was very similar. Some of the minor things are a little different, but not too different in the carburetor. But our fastest pass was an 1189 and an 1190 back to back with that 850. Now we did make a timing change. We went from, I thought it was 34. No, we went from 32 to 36 with no real difference in mile per hour. The only thing that it did affect was it leaned up the idle to the point where it now developed a stumble off the line. So with that more initial timing, it changed how the car, it had that light little lean stumble, and you'll see it in the one video. I'll try to put the 2 fastest runs of the day towards the end of the pack so you guys can, and you'll hear him call the time too on the video, which is one thing my buddy did. So all things taken into consideration, the car ran at 1189, the frame repairs held up, ignition stuff worked out good, we made a plug change, we even tried the 750 and it still ran at 12.0, that was funny. But I have a little bit of homework to do. I think the 850 with the annular boosters that I have is a little too fat on the bottom side, but I know why, and I don't want to get too much into it. I kind of want to consult with a buddy of mine and see what he thinks, but I'm going to guess that the very obvious thing is that I'm overexposing the transfer slot, so I'm going to have to probably drill my throttle plates to introduce a little bit more air. I'm going to have to drill the base plate for a set screw so I can also open up the secondary butterflies a little bit, because on this particular carburetor there is not a provision for that adjustment screw, and it doesn't have the lever where I can adjust it. So I either have to buy the lever with the screw or drill the base plate, which isn't that big of a deal. So all things considered, we also did add quite a bit of port volume and much bigger valves. And we didn't make a camshaft change. Also note that we went up over a 1/4 point in compression. I want to say almost, a little slightly over a 1/4 point in compression. It went from being like 10.224-ish compression to like 10.621 all said and done. When I CC'd the heads, before I put the engine back together, and I did all the calculations, actually recently, it's kind of sad, I put it off. I trusted that it would still be fine on pump gas, and that's not the case. At this point, we realize that we need to run it on 110. We need racing fuel. I ran it on racing fuel at the track, and it ran great. It popped a little bit under a load with the 850, but I'm starting to think that it might be loading up the engine, and that's part of the problem with that because it's so fat on the bottom end. But with the other carburetor, everything seemed fine. All we did was a fast idle adjustment. We made some passes, and then we made the timing change. Everything was good. Nothing fell apart, no leaks, nothing major, but we need to run racing fuel. And that's where maybe I'll have to go to like E85 next year just to keep it a little bit cheaper. But at this point, it is what it is. We'll figure that down the road. Now, other things to consider is that if the car slowed down, that means I don't have to cage it right away. So I may put that off. But part of me also is saying, well, maybe this is a good opportunity to go to like a solid roller cam that's better tailored to the compression. Maybe we can fill the heads, do some testing, and really maximize that engine. And we still got the other 350 that I got to put together. The one that got hurt, we got a fresh rod on it, well, fresh-ish used rod. And my wife was even thinking about racing Pontiac next year, which after racing it this season, I'd say that this car is probably the safest car to take down the track. It's very solid, very good. Everything was great, so I trust putting my wife behind the wheel of that car, racing street. I can go run Sportsman, maybe do a couple pro races next year. But had a good time. I can't thank my buddy Dave enough for helping me out. We made 3 carburetor changes, spark plug changes. Ultimately, the car ran its best with his carburetor, 1189, 1190, and even then, the spark plug reading on that particular carburetor was much, much leaner than what I had with the annular booster carb. So there's some talking that I need to do, and there's going to be some stuff to do, and I may just have to like buy a new carburetor and have it done that way. Or just have that one done. I mean, it's a nice piece. It's not garbage. It's just I have to take that carburetor apart, pin it, and do a proper spec sheet. I had the spec sheet, but there's a couple of things that I so yay! That's the best part about living on a busy street. I hear that shit all day, and I'm not complaining because I'm part of the problem too. I do full pulls down my street. So, but that carburetor, I have to take apart and blueprint it, reverse engineer it by pinning everything out, and then consult, because I know I have 2 big things working against me with my 850, and that is that it is really fat off the line, really fat off the line, and that's going to hurt the 60 foot. When we reworked the 750 before we ran Indy last year, my buddy Terry, who is like the carb guru at one of our local tracks, he set up the car to be like a foot brake carb, and it was very crisp off the line, so it was able to 60 foot stronger. It was a very lean, it was as lean as you can go on launch, and then 12.5 down the track. Actually 12.0. But the car was happy, and it did that, but that was a different engine combination, different fuel, air requirements, and now we kind of have to figure it out again. But I had a fun time. It was a great day. The car went out. Oil pressure's good. Everything seems to be pretty good. When I get the car back, I'm going to pop the carburetor off, go through it, pop the valve covers off, check the lash, make sure nothing moved. But we had a good time. We put 6 passes on the car before the rain came in. Otherwise, we would have been able to make another run with the 850 after I rejetted it to split the difference. And so yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed following the saga along, but we finally got the olds to track. Share, like, subscribe. Follow me on Instagram as Copper Cutlass, and watch the whole damn video.
.3 in this car. .1201.